It has been more than a year since I have been in China, and to be honest, the first month is kind of a blur. I have such a hard time recalling what actually happened because I was so overwhelmed by all the things that I had to do. Therefore, here are some things that I wish someone had told me before I arrived to China. And these apply in both cases, whether you are coming to China for tourism or if you're coming to China for your further studies. Okay, so point number one, bring your identification everywhere that you go to. This applies especially to the people who are coming here just as tourists. You need to bring your passport everywhere you go because it is a legal requirement. Hotels and different places might ask you for your identification if you're not a Chinese person. On the other hand, if you are a student, you need to have your student ID card everywhere that you go to. As long as you stay in campus, it's totally fine. But if you're stepping outside, it would be ideal if you have your ID on you, and you should take a picture of your passport just in case you don't have your passport. Most of the places a picture suffice, but only if you are a student. Point number two is maps. Most of the people coming to China are not aware of the famous or infamous China firewall. That means most of the apps that you are familiar with or have been using your entire life would not work here, including Google Maps. You can access those apps using VPN, but the point remains that Google Maps is a bit outdated and it would not show you the correct path to take to your desired location. Therefore, these are certain app maps that you need to have on your phone, the ones that Chinese use most of the time. The first thing is Baidu or Amaps. And mind you, these apps might be a little overwhelming in the first use because their interface is all in Chinese, but once you get the hang of it, you would find it so much more easier. They don't just display your location. Most of these apps also include facility to order a taxi or an Uber in China, or I should say a Didi, to your location. So keep that in mind. Okay, so number three, how safe China actually is. If it's your first time arriving in China, you would notice that there are surveillance cameras quite literally everywhere. That means you don't have to worry about your valuables or your luggage being stolen like you would at other places. Point number four, how to get around, specifically the apps for transportation, aka China's Uber. So if you're arriving to China, these are the few apps that you should use. Number one is Didi and number two is Xiaola. And this will be very convenient for you to have a safe means of transportation from airport to your hotel or to your university. Once you exit the airport, you would see taxis all around, but sometimes they might charge you a bit extra as compared to an offer that you would be getting on one of these apps. A little side note, I have made a video specifically dedicated to all of the apps you can possibly need if you're coming to China, so make sure that you look into it. All of the apps that I'm mentioning here have been described in that video in immense detail. The link would be somewhere around here. Okay, so moving on to point five, which is your SIM card. Once you land in China, your previous SIM card obviously would stop working. And getting a SIM card here as a foreigner can be a bit hectic. So I would suggest that you buy an eSIM if you're coming here as a tourist. You can use sites such as Olafly. And if you are a student, there would be a person selling SIM cards in your university that would be legally authorized. So just choose whatever you want according to your specific circumstances. Point number six, transportation in China. So, China, in addition to being the safest country, is also very easy to get around. There are lots of means of public transportation, such as high speed train and underground trains and metro buses. So, you should educate yourself on this if you are planning to move around a lot. And even if you are a student, you would find out that visiting some of these places using a metro bus or an underground railway is much cheaper as compared to taking a taxi there. Point number 7. This point is specifically for people who are planning to come to China as tourists. You should avoid major holidays. Now, what do I mean by that? You should search up Chinese holidays because China has a lot of traditional Chinese holidays, and in these periods of time, every place would be absolutely crowded. I swear to you, I have never seen that many people in one place around festivals like Chinese New Year. So, the good times to visit China as a tourist would be somewhere between May to June and September to October. Point number 8. China has released a list of countries that are allowed to visit China visa free for about 15 days, I think. So, this is the list of the countries that it includes. So, if you're from one of these countries, then you have one less thing to worry about. If you're finding these tips helpful, make sure you subscribe because I'm making an entire series about how to survive and thrive in China, whether you are a tourist or you are a student. Point number 9. This is another very important point, and that is the rules and regulations of China. It is strictly forbidden to get into any kind of fight. You cannot fight an international student, and it's even worse if you do that with a Chinese person, as the legal consequences can be humongous. So make sure that you are not putting yourself in any kind of a risky situation where you might need to do that. Number 10, the food. So, as we all know that China is a huge country, and the food depends on the place that you are going to be visiting or living in. It varies from province to province and a bit from city to city too. For example, I am living slash studying in Guizhou province, and it's very famous for its spicy foods. So you should look into that. And for the students coming in, make sure that you have your specific spices from your country, as it would be very hard for you to acquire them here in China. Number 11, having a good translation app. Once you arrive here, you're going to realize very soon that almost no one speaks English. In the bigger cities, maybe, but for me, that wasn't the case, and I was struggling. And the only thing that saved me was having Apple Translate on my iPhone. So, whatever phone you have, make sure you have a good translation app that works both online and offline to save you from being stuck in difficult situations. Point number 12, download VPNs beforehand. Once you arrive in China, it's going to be very hard for you to even download a VPN, let alone use one. So, I suggest, especially for your mobile phones, that you have VPNs downloaded before you arrive in China, as it's gonna make the whole process a whole lot seamless. And like I mentioned before, there's a specific video of all the apps that you might need in China, and the VPN category is also there, so make sure you check it out. Point number 13, and this is very important, and it is registration with the police or police station. If you are a tourist and you are booking in an international hotel, most of the cases those hotels would do this registration for you. But if not, you need to go to the police and register. And if you are a student, you don't have to worry about this because your university would dedicate an entire trip for you to go to the police station. Or if not that, they would guide you on how to do this process. And most of the cases, that police station would be located inside the university, so you wouldn't have to worry about it that much. Make sure that you do this registration process with the police within the given time limit, as if it's not done, according to the given conditions, it might create a legal problem for you. Number 14 is the payment methods. Once you arrive in China, you're going to quickly realize that the payments here are not like any other place. You cannot use your cards directly, your international cards. There are only two main apps that you're going to use for payments here, and that is Alipay and WeChat. So make sure you download these two apps beforehand. Make sure that you attach your international card, whether it's like a Master or Visa card, within your Alipay app before you arrive here, as you're gonna need to authenticate in order for you to register and stuff. And once you arrive in China, you might not be able to get your OTP on the number you registered with, as that SIM would stop working. Number 15, the last point, is power banks. You are going to be traveling a lot, whether you are a tourist or a student, and you will realize that your phone at times would be so close to being dead and you wouldn't be able to charge your phones. But you don't have to worry, because China, there are these power bank stations at different locations. You can rent a power bank very easily using apps like Mate1. So just make sure that if your phone is about to die, you ask someone or you spot that station by yourself, rent a power bank, and you'll be good to go. That's all for this video. I really hope you find it helpful. I tried my best to include all the essentials here. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.